Dear Morgan, today is Friday, November 12th, and it was a really great day today. The stuff that I want to start telling you about starts around like 4:30 this afternoon. I came into the Residence Life office and we were hanging out here, and then they brought the other wheelchair upstairs. And Ian got into the other wheelchair and we were wheeling around, and it was really funny, and they were seeing what it was like and all that type of stuff. And then I was like, okay, hypothetical situation. How did two people in wheelchairs kiss? So we kind of thought about it and kind of giggled about it and laughed about it. And then I was like, okay, but seriously, how do two people in wheelchairs hug? And I don't think I've ever seen you do this before, so that's why I was asking the question. So Ian and I tried it out. We wheeled towards each other and tried to hug each other, because I think that's a really important thing, is touch. So that's something that we explored today, which was something completely interesting. And also, I asked Jason a question today, and I was like, I wonder how much being in a wheelchair changes our perspective of people, especially in the whole, air quote, checking out, air quote, other people. It was just a really interesting new perspective, and if it hinders or if it helps, I guess it depends on the person, but it was just a new question to think about. So for supper today, Jess, Becca, Kira, and I went to Plaza, which is the little group of shops that's just past the campus, and we had pitas. So it was my first time going over to Plaza in the wheelchair. And it was really interesting. We took our normal route and actually had to detour greatly because we kept running into stairs with no ramp. So that was a little frustrating. And then we got to the train tracks. And oh, Morgan, the train tracks. In this one section, they were absolutely horrible. It took 3 people to lift me up and down and around them to get over them. If I had been by myself, there's no way I could have gotten across them. So anyways, we got to the pita place, and we got in line. And the counter for paying wasn't too bad. I could see the person order and everything, and I paid for my food. And we got to the part where you're supposed to get the toppings on it. But the counters were so high that I couldn't see the person's face, nor could I hear what they were asking me about my pita. So that was a little frustrating, and I had to continuously ask them over and over again what they were saying so that I could answer. And it made me feel kind of silly having to ask over and over again. And then I got to the part where they hand you the actual pita, and there was no glass. So it was this massive counter that I couldn't see over, and I couldn't see when my pita was ready or anything. And I found that really frustrating. That the counters are so high with no glass and no ability to talk through them instead of over them, because really you'd have to project your voice upwards and then downwards to see the other person, and that's really difficult to do. So it was interesting. And also all the tables in the pita pit are like bar tables, so they're up really high, and the chairs are really, really high, so there's no way I could probably fit under the tables, let alone sit at them. So we had to sit at a booth where I was just sitting on the end, and I was blocking the aisle. So it wasn't a very accessible restaurant in terms of that. And also, seeing closed picture and video of me eating a pita, it is extremely difficult to eat pitas with someone feeding me. Needless to say, there was much all over my face and down my coat and on my tray and everywhere. Oh, sorry, on the table. My tray wasn't on. It's quite the experience. On our way back, we decided to take the other route that goes by Mongolian Grill and enters near the new E5 building. And first of all, the E5 building, which is the 5th engineering building, it was just built. The ramp starts right in the middle where the stairs are and goes all the way across towards Plaza, and then comes all the way back to the front of the building. And you can actually access the ramp from the side of Plaza. However, the beginning of the ramp has steps. So, it would be impossible to get up to the ramp from Plaza. If you were coming from Plaza in a wheelchair, you'd have to go all the way to the front of the building, get on the ramp, get all the way back to where you had started, and then all the way back up to the middle, to the building. And I was like, well, what's the point of having an access to the ramp there if it's stairs? And anyway, in this part, the train tracks were a lot easier to get over, but still very, very difficult. And I could have easily gotten stuck, which is not very good. Later on this evening, Jason took me to see my first Warriors hockey game, which we won. And immediately as we got there, Jason realized, oh, I don't think you're going to be able to see over the boards. So I was like, you know what, we'll try it out. So we got in there, and sure enough, could not see anything. I could just see the top of the scoreboard, but no ice and barely a helmet. So it was a little disappointing, but luckily it was still during one of the breaks between the periods. Anyways, we ran into this couple who, the man was in a wheelchair, and he was lifted up on those, those exercise step blocks, the purple and green ones, and you use them in step class. They had piled some of those one on top of each other, and he was sitting on that. So they directed us to go find the football coach or the manager of the arena. And so Jason and I left and went out to find someone, and they actually got me a platform, which I think you can see in the picture of me in the hockey game. And it was a yellow platform, which is really great. They lifted me up onto it, and I could see perfectly over the boards. However, there was no way to turn me, so I was stuck in that one same position the whole time. I couldn't turn and actually face the rink straight on. I had to watch it sideways. So it needs to be a bit wider, but I mean, at least they had something. But they didn't have something in the case that there was 2 wheelchairs there. And I think I actually heard them saying that, because they were faced with this problem of 2 people calling, or 2 people showing up with a disability, they're going to start addressing that, which is so cool. Another really cool thing is that person who was in a wheelchair actually got in contact with me and said, what disability you have. I'm working on campus. He's doing his master's degree in the accessibility of travel. So we had this really great conversation. I explained to him what the project is and about this blog, and he had actually received an email about it today already, but hadn't had a chance to look at it. So it was such a really cool moment that we actually met up. We discussed the curbs around campus and how the buildings are, although they're accessible, it's still really easy to get lost. He's gotten unable to get out of buildings because he can't find an accessible exit. In the new building, there's a huge passageway between the buildings, but it's not accessible because there's a giant lip in the front of it. It was a really great conversation, and he's starting to do a lot of work in addressing the issues of the curbs and everything on campus. And it's so cool, Morgan, that there's other people out there doing something. It's really great to see, and it was really great to talk with him, and I look forward to further conversations with him. So it was really, really neat to have that connection. One last thing, when we were trying to exit the building, there's ramps that go down to the front of the door, like to the front door of the actual building. But once you get outside the building, there's no ramp to get down the front stairs that are outside. So the ramps kind of lead to nowhere, which is kind of confusing and kind of frustrating. I think they lead to some of the facilities, but the front door should be accessible as well. It kind of flabbergasted me because the arena place that we were in is fairly new. And Jason made a good point when he said something along the lines of, they focus sometimes too much on how to make the building accessible for people, so how people can get from point A to point B and actually attend. But they forget to make the actual action accessible. So we could get to the SIF, we could get to that arena, but the actual action of watching a hockey game, they completely forgot to take into consideration. So he kind of gave me a new outlook on how to see things, and I think I'm going to try that out tomorrow when we go downtown, go to a restaurant to see a movie, and go shopping in the mall, and see just how that exactly works everywhere else too. I'm excited to go downtown and start exploring outwards, and it should be a great adventure. Anyways, I hope you had a great day, and I'll be talking to you tomorrow, so have a great night. Love you lots. Mac.